G'day, everyone. Welcome to another Toon Under podcast, the biggest podcast dedicated to all things Newcastle United in the Southern Hemisphere. Before we go any further, just want to let everyone know that this is a safe space. We'll have a nice therapy session together. Hopefully, by the time we wrap it up, you'll feel a little bit better and you're another step forward in your recovery journey. So I'm joined by Lee tonight up there in Brisbane, Vegas. I won't say we will dissect this Liverpool game, Lee, but we'll definitely talk about it. We'll throw our 2 cents in about what had happened and what could have happened and perhaps should have happened. I don't want to get too deep into the big dark hole that we could end up going down. But I'll get deep enough that we can pull ourselves back out by the end of it. How are you, mate?
I've been simultaneously looking forward and dreading this podcast. Like I just hate thinking about these things when we lose. I just want to shove it into a little box in the corner of my mind and just forget about it forever. But at the same time, like, it's all I can bloody think about since this morning when we watched the game. It's just been a long day of having to put up with this in my mind, and let's just have a great big whinge. Let's just bloody get it off our chests.
That's it.
Everyone else is whinging, so why don't we? Let's just get it out there, and maybe we'll feel better. I doubt it. I'm still annoyed. I'll still be annoyed.
So that's what I mean. We won't feel better, but we'll be a step forward to feeling better. Before we go any further, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to our channel. We're trying to pump through them now, and trying to get to 1,500 before the end of the year. So I think we're about 50 away. So if you could help us and you find us on YouTube or whatever, make sure you subscribe to keep up to date with everything that we do. Comment as well, follow us on the socials, do all that sort of stuff. That'll be really handy. But we'll get stuck into it, mate. I guess when the teams dropped, I guess predicted that we were going to be unchanged again. I don't think there was any reason to change the starting 11. I think Big Joe was under a little bit of an injury cloud, but Eddie, I guess, put that to bed in his Friday press conference, so he was going to be right to go. Liverpool had 2 changes. Endo, their new signing, started in place of Diogo Jota, and Matip replaced Canada in the starting lineup. Is that, you weren't surprised with anything that we did, mate?
Not what we did, no. I mean, whenever you have a game like we had against City, where we actually played pretty well in parts and gave them something to think about, and ultimately lost, you kind of, the natural thing to do really is say, all right, boys, it's time for you to go out there and make amends and get us the win against another competitor this season and fix things up, and that's why he did it. I mean, it was obviously going to be the same team, I think.
Would you say that's our best 11 we've got?
It must be pretty close to it. I mean, I don't know if Barnes is ready to be a starter. I suspect that Lewis Hall will be the swap at left back. I think that Dan Burn, as wonderful as he's been, and we've said this 1,000 times, he's not a natural left back. His pace is going to be found out more and more during the season, or lack of pace, I should say. And I think Lewis Hall will come into that position. My thought on that was that once that happened, once we got the left back signing, then Dan Burn would be the backup for centre back. You know, everyone's talking about this right-footed centre back need. Dan Burn can provide some sort of cover there. He's not right-footed, but nonetheless, he could be a cover for centre back. So I think, mind you, based on this game, I'm not sure that's a good idea either. But once Lewis Hall comes in and that left back position is sorted out, I think that's probably as close to our strongest team you can put out there. I'm not sure who. You could potentially put Gordon on the right and stick Barnes down the left, and then Miggy's kind of left out there a little bit. But and then you've got Wilson to consider as well, I guess. But it's nice to have these options, and it's there or thereabouts anyway. Let's put it that way. It's there or thereabouts.
Yeah. So the game kicked off, and traditionally, I guess now, as we've become accustomed to, we've jumped out of the gates at home against a decent opposition as well, which we seem to get ourselves up for. I guess the first kind of major incident, I guess, was the Trent Alexander-Arnold yellow card, which he picked up for, I guess, time wasting or throwing the ball away, and then not long after it was the block or whatever you want to call it against Anthony Gordon as well. It's in a game littered with incidents. I guess that was the first major talky one. Did you think that was a yellow card?
Which one? The second one? I mean, the first one certainly was, because he had the ball onto the field as a delaying tactic. I mean, Nick Pope got that just the other day, didn't he, for doing exactly the same thing?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was obviously a yellow. I mean, it was a stupid yellow, but it was a yellow nonetheless. I'm not too convinced about the second one. I mean, I think there was probably an intent to slow Gordon up, but I mean, there was hardly any contact. I don't even think he touched him with his hand or whatever. And I think Gordon just took the opportunity to go down a bit soft. But those are the kind of things that usually get given. And the referee basically bottled it. I think it was 5 minutes or something into the game, wasn't it? It was pretty damn early.
Yeah, like 6 minutes or something, yeah.
Yeah, and I think the ref just thought this is too early to be sending off someone, which is it's ridiculous to think that way, because if it's a foul, if it's 2 fouls, it's 2 yellows.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what time of the bloody clock, it's 2 fouls. No. The funny thing is, of course, that had he gone off and Jurgen Klopp would have rearranged his team, we might not have got that mistake that he made that led to the goal. So we're not quite sure how that might have turned out. I mean, we know what happened with 10 men. We're bloody lost, didn't we? So we might not have even scored that goal and still lost. So yeah, I think it was very lucky. I think the ref bottled it. I'm not entirely sure that it was really a yellow, but those usually are given.
Yeah. So and referees tend to do this, don't they? If someone's on a yellow card, they kind of give them the benefit of the doubt. If one's a bit 50-50, pretty close to it after it. And I reckon if he hadn't had that yellow card earlier, he would have got a yellow card for that.
Yeah,
and it's not.
It's not, isn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But I think that's the way they kind of think of it. Like, hey, mate, what are you doing? This is your last chance, kind of thing. But like you said, if he did get sent off, we probably wouldn't have scored. Like, I think we sort of terrorized him a little bit after it, and Gordon, he was having a blinder. He's, I think, clearly our best player on the pitch.
Easy.
For that, at least the first half, and it was terrorizing him, and knowing that he couldn't really make one little mistake, because if he made one more mistake, he was going to be sent off. There's no doubt about that. And that goal, he just took his eyes off the ball for that split second, and somehow managed to roll under his foot. And I know it seems like an easy finish, but for someone whose knock was scoring, I thought he took that really, really well.
No, he did. And on the replay, he actually he doesn't really look too much at Alisson. He's kind of just got his head down, looking at the ball, focusing on how he's going to kick it. Might be a little bit of fortune that it kind of makes the keeper and goes in. But you kind of make your own luck in those scenarios. It was a really nice bit of opportunism. He was like, as you say, he was on it. He was on the day out. He was brilliant all game. I mean, we'll get onto this in a bit, but I'm bloody annoyed that he was taken off. I really am. But I think
we'll get to that.
Yeah, he's showing his worth now. I mean, people kind of might have thought and questioned it when he first joined us, but of course he was fat and untrained at that point. He was slow. He had one leg. He had to get up to speed and everything. Then he had that absolutely brilliant summer, and I think he's going to be good for us this season. And of course, he's scoring against Liverpool, the team that he probably hates the most in the entire world.
Hates the most, yes.
Yeah. So he would have enjoyed that more than anyone, really. And it's a shame that didn't count for a win.
First goal at home as well, which is always
first goal. Yeah,
special. Yeah. So we still kind of dominated the game, and then obviously the next big talking point was the red card to Virgil. I nearly called him Sergio Van Dijk, who was an A-League player who used to play, but no, Virgil Van Dijk's red card. This seems to be depending on. So we thought the Alexander Arnold yellow card was a shocker, and obviously Liverpool fans think that the Van Dijk red card was a shocker. Is that a pretty black and white decision in your eyes?
I'll see what he did there. I think sometimes I wonder what goes through certain fans' minds when it's something going against them. Like there's There's no way in my mind that is anything other than a blatantly obvious red card. Even Michael Owen, who hates us, was saying at half time, and he said it, these were his words. He said, through, as much as I hate to admit it, it's a red card. Dick Van Dijk, let's call him Dick Van Dijk. Dick Van Dijk comes across. He's more or less level with Big Dog, but he sweeps away his foot. I mean, he sweeps it away, and Isaac goes down.
It denies him a clear goal-scoring opportunity.
He's on goal, yeah. Now, look, I mean, whether or not he scores is academic. I mean,
but that's not the rule. It's just the goal-scoring opportunity. So
that's right. So
which we got it against Aston Villa with Miggy. Now, maybe because he was so far out, that the argument was it wasn't a clear goal-scoring opportunity because he was on the wing. He still had a couple of defenders. He might not have had an opportunity to shoot a goal. This was obvious. Like he was, as soon as he's through, you probably back him to score.
No, absolutely, especially with the way he's, Big Dog's a brilliant player. And he's in on goal, and not to take anything away from Alisson, he was a fantastic keeper, but it's all us at this point. And Van Dijk, he's such a whinger. Like he's got this arrogance about him. He's perfectly suited to Liverpool, I suppose, in many ways, but he's got this arrogance about him where everything he does is correct and everything he says is right, it seems to me anyway. And when a decision goes against him, he's twisting his face, he's waving his arms around, he's whinging.
Like it's never his fault.
All the way off, he's complaining to get off the pitch. He knows fine well that he took his foot away because he knows, because he felt it when he kicked him. He knows what happens, and he still bleats on like a child. It's infuriating. I mean, I wouldn't put it past Liverpool to try and appeal this. And in some ways, I hope they do, because I imagine it would get turned away and it'll be done for frivolous appeal, and they'll get it extended to 3 games instead of 1 or whatever it is. So I feel like they just complained about it for complaining's sake. That I don't see how anyone can say that isn't a red. It's a blatant foul, blatant goal scoring opportunity denied. What else can you say? It's an obvious red.
That's the rule. Like it's as clear as day. That's the rule. So, and then listening to Eddie post game, I guess I kind of agreed with him a little bit, where we were much better when it was 11v11, and once we'd scored, and then knowing that they have to try and attack the game to score, I would have backed us to go on and win the game, especially with 11 men. But then once the dreaded low block started after the goal, our Achilles heel kind of was exposed again, wasn't it? Like we just struggle, and then I think it was pretty obvious that their plan was just to hang in for as long as they could at 1 and try and nick something towards the end. And obviously they didn't just nick something; they nicked a couple of things. So, how can we fix this, Lee? Like this is becoming a real problem for us.
Well, I mean, the likes of Tonali, Gordon, Barnes, these people were brought in, I think, to try and solve this issue. Now, they haven't been playing together for an awful lot of time. Preseason to me just feels like a click of the fingers, and it was over, and it was time for a new season already. It was, it felt like.
But Barnes didn't really have any of the preseason as well.
Barnes didn't have much of a chance. Tonali had a little bit, but they have to work together for a bit more time to get that understanding. Tonali,
cohesion,
Tonali and Bruno isn't quite working yet. Maybe we'll talk about the players individually as we go on, but I feel like you get someone in like Harvey Barnes, you get him bombing down the wing, doing those kind of drag backs and taking a shot with his foot across the goal, is there to try and unlock the low block. Tonali himself in the middle doing all these clever little passes and what have you. I think that's the general idea there. Or if it's Bruno doing that and Tonali sits back a little bit, whatever that might be with a pivot. And you've always got Miggy on the other side, and then you can bring on Murphy and all the rest of it. So I feel like that is the intention, but we aren't yet able to pull it off. For one reason, and the thing with us is, the longer it goes on, the more nervous we get. The more the team blocks us and denies us, and the more we take wild shots and go flinging over the top of the bar and hit the dead pigeon and all the rest of it, the more we start to look antsy, we start to look nervous, we start to look doubtful of our own abilities, of our own intentions. And teams like Liverpool, like City, they can smell it. I mean, Liverpool deserve Klopp deserves an awful lot of credit, in my opinion. He, at 10 men, you could quite easily just stick 11, 9 behind the ball and stick 1 on the halfway line and just hope that you get that lucky kick from goal or like a launch from defense or something, and you're in on goal and you nick something. But he actually kept 3 forwards on at one point. There was 3 forwards. So Salah was still there, and whoever the other fellow was, maybe I'm not sure who was on the left. I forget who it was. But nonetheless, he kept those players on. He kept them hanging on the shoulders.
He kept the threat there.
Exactly.
He kept them twitchy the whole game.
And we'll come on to tactics and stuff, I'm sure. But Eddie Howe didn't change it, and we kept playing this high defensive line, and it cost us in the end. But to get past these teams that just pack out their defensive third, it's going to take time. It's going to take effort. It's going to take some luck. It's going to take new players. Probably at some point we'll need some cleverer players, I'm sure, better players. And I just kind of hope that we don't end up losing a ton of games in the meantime. I don't. It's a problem. It's a problem for every team.
Yeah, but like we had plenty of good chances too to sort of put that game to bed, even get it to 2, maybe 3. Miggy hit the post twice. Joel Linton had a good look as well that he probably rushed. And that one with Miggy that he hit over the bar, like he could have taken a touch and set himself and actually had a really good shot, but rushed it and ends up on the Gallagher roof pretty much. Like all these little things, like we wouldn't be having this therapy session if one of them went in. I don't think. Like I think they might have retreated a little bit once we got a second one, knowing that we have got the capacity to pile them on if we needed. But no, I thought we were really passive, especially after half time. We didn't really take it to them. The press went out the window as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was going to say
we were really, I wouldn't say scared, but we were. I think we were too comfortable. We felt comfortable, like we didn't nearly need to attack the game anymore.
Well, I think part of that is probably just trying to kind of secure the win and not kind of overexert and whatever. But you're playing against Liverpool, man. It's a team that's got brilliant international quality players in the ranks. And as much as you might not like to talk about Liverpool and you might not like Klopp and all that, that's just the fact of the matter. They're still a very, very, very good team. You dawdle on the ball like Bruno does for the second, and you're going to make a mistake. It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter how good you think you are. If you're not, once we stopped pressing, don't forget, intensity is our identity. That's the big bloody sign on the wall.
That's a believe Ted Lasso song.
And it just wasn't quite there in the second half. It was in spits and starts, but it wasn't quite there in enough of a capacity to really give Liverpool that much of a concern. I mean, all right, Alisson makes an absolute world-class save and follows it up with a kind of cat swat just to make sure the ball doesn't go in off his back or whatever. And those are the kind of marginal bits of luck that you sometimes need to win a football game. Bloody their first goal bounced off Sven Botman's arse, for Christ's sake. I mean, there was luck on both sides of the game, and it. Oh damn it! I'm just angry. I'm so.
That's what this is for, mate. This is it. Get it out. Get it off your chest.
It just felt like we slowed the game down to the point where we started to run out of ideas, and we handed the impetus in many ways to Liverpool. And when they brought on their extra forward, Eddie Howe didn't change it. He left it the way it was. He brought on like for like as far as Barnes.
So I was going to get to that.
The
3 subs. So I think the game changed a lot after that triple substitution when Big Dog, Tonali and Gordon all went off at the same time. I thought probably Tonali and Gordon were our 2 best players on the day up until that point, and then to see them both go off at the same time, like I hope there's an underlying reason there that we don't know about, because if there's not, and their fitness and their fatigue levels were still okay, that's a really bad decision. Like
absolutely.
And for some reason, especially after half time, Gordon didn't see much of the ball. A lot of it was going down Miggy's wing, and they sort of left Alexander Arnold by himself when they they just kind of stopped asking questions of him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But it's
give him an out a little bit.
It's not that Gordon wasn't trying. I was watching Gordon during the second half. He was making runs from the wing inside.
Plenty of times he could have got played through
at the top of the pitch, and he was being largely ignored. And they were playing back and forwards at the back to the wing, run up the wing a little bit, stop, come back a bit, go back into midfield, and all the while Gordon's still looking for a way to receive the ball and get in on goal, and we just weren't even thinking about it at that point. It's like we just stopped thinking about how to win the game. Maybe because we thought we already had, but we hadn't. I mean, teams sometimes play better with 10 men. That's a well-known thing in football. People will know this. Teams can play better. And if you've got a very good team to start with, that has already, by the way, proven this season that they can win with 10 men, which they did in the last game or the game before, wherever it was.
Yeah, plenty of practice for it already.
We already know they can do it. Here they are at 10 men again. And we just didn't heed the warnings. We just kept on going as if everything was normal. Lost the pressure, completely lost the pressure. And I think Liverpool and Klopp deserve an awful lot of credit, as hard as it is to, say it. They were very effective.
So, look, hindsight's a wonderful thing. Like, we're all legends in hindsight and geniuses and stuff like that.
Why?
But I think even at the time, when it happened, everyone was sort of going, what's the go? Like, Gordon's probably our best player. Why are we taking him off and things like that? So this isn't a thing where we can all be, like I said, we're all geniuses after the fact that's happened. People were saying that at the time. Like, I
said it at the time.
Yeah, surely we could get another 10 minutes out of him. Worst case, if his levels are that bad, because they'll all have their GPSs on, so all their data and their tracking and how far they've ran and the intensity and their high-speed efforts, all that stuff's monitored now by the data boffins on the bench. They know every player. I can't subscribe to the fact that all three of them needed to come off at the same time. I'm sure you could, whether it was give Gordon another 10 minutes or sub him off, bring Wilson on it and chuck Isak on the left for 10 minutes and try and see if you can get something out of Alexander Arnold with Isak there and his dribbling capabilities and his skill and things like that. I just think, and it's not like we've got a game during the week. So we've still got 7 days before our next game. So there wasn't that need to, we're just going to put these guys on ice because we've got a Champions League game or a cup game during the week that we need to we've got one eye to. Like, this is a full 7-day break. I just think you could have at least kept one of them out. And no disrespect to Sean Longstaff as well. He was a great player for us last year, probably the most underrated player, I think, for us last season, but he's not Sandro Tonali. Like we lost a lot out of the middle of the park when he come on as well.
We did, when this looked like subs were warming up, and you could see it was Wilson, you could see it was Barnes. I said in the chat at the time, I said, "Oh, good, Barnes is coming on. Hope the hell we keep on Gordon." Everyone knew and could see with their own eyes that Gordon was a constant threat. That back line was terrified. Alexander Arnold did not, as you've already said, did not get the pressure he needed in that second half to really get him, worried. As you say, we went down the right. I don't know if that's because of last season. It's our kind of modus operandi for how we play, and we haven't quite.
They want to get Trippier into the game a little bit more. It happened too obvious. It happened too much to just be a coincidence. Like, it had to have been a set directive.
I've seen a few people say that it looked like it was preordained, like it was something that they'd said at half time. We'll get to 70 minutes, wherever it was, and you guys will come off and I'll bring on some fresh legs. If that's the case, it's kind of stupid because you need to also then look at the reality on the pitch, not just like what you've written down in a book and told people. You look on the pitch and you say, you know what, if I take him off, we're going to lose this massive out on the left here. We're going to lose the one guy who can terrorize them and is terrorizing them and has terrorized them all game and scored the goal. He's still doing it. He had a hell of a summer. He's probably fitter than most right now, even if he has had that long summer, because he's already up to speed in many ways than the other players necessarily might not be.
Yeah.
Don't take him off if that's the case. Look, use your eyeballs, use your brain, and go, right, I'll just leave him on. That's my plan to take him off at a set time. Doesn't make any sense. If they're looking at tracking data, then you've got to sort of appreciate the science. I mean, that's why they do tracking data. That's why they have the GPSs. They can see when levels are starting to drop a little bit. It's hard to argue against that, though. I mean, that's kind of why they do that. That's the information that the secret sauce that you use to decide when it's about right to take someone out. But I will say, though, use your eyes. Look at the guy. He's still terrorizing Alexander-Arnold. He's still, even if his levels are dropping, I mean, they weren't zero. He looked perfectly fine when he came off.
That's what I was going to say. Like, you know, it's not like he stopped giving up, but he wasn't making runs. He was still doing all that stuff.
All of it.
Before this, was it 65 or something like that? I think it was. I haven't looked again, but it was around that time.
When I saw Barnes warming up, I thought maybe Gordon might go to the Miggy side.
To the right. Yeah.
Because Miggy done an awful lot of running, and I thought it was one of his better games, actually. I thought Miggy did all right. I mean, obviously, he wafts at the ball, but that's Miggy all over. And Christ, I mean, he did all right last season with it, at least the first half of the season. And I thought maybe Gordon down the right, give Harvey Barnes a chance to run it, Alexander-Arnold. It made sense to take off Isaac, I will say that, because I think he didn't really get into this game.
He looked really isolated up there, a bit similar to Man City, I thought. Like he wasn't linking in with other players, and
that's just a good opposition. You know, they know how to snuff.
Well, that's what I mean. That was the low block, and us happy to just sort of be passive through the middle of the park and not really attack and come forward and get him involved in the game as well.
I don't even think he was that involved in the first half. I mean, I know he won the penalty, of course, but I can't, off the top of my head, I can't think of a great deal of things that Isaac did in this game. I think he was just well marshaled, and I think probably he should have came off sooner than he actually did. Wilson, there was that time when I actually missed it because I went to the toilet. I was quite annoyed, and then it was just after they scored, and then Harvey Barnes apparently plays in Wilson, but the pass is blocked, and done it slightly sooner, and that's the link up that you want to see, but you don't want to lose your best player on the park at the same time. I keep coming back to it. Getting rid of Gordon was just a huge error in my absolutely professional, perfect opinion, and I will also say that Tonali, I mean, I guess I'm rambling now. I'm just getting it all out. I'm getting it all out here.
I told you, this is what we're here for.
Tonali, I thought he was all right, but I don't think he was as good as I've heard people saying he was. He was. It might be because he hasn't quite worked out, or they haven't quite worked out to work together, him and Bruno. It might be because of the formation or tactics or whatever it might be. But I found at times that he was taking up positions where he couldn't be found with the ball. He was either being marked out of it, or he was just standing in the wrong place, and he was getting into a situation where the player was having to change because he wasn't in the position to receive. And that'll come with time. That's the thing that will happen. It'll come with time. It's just we haven't had a great deal of time yet, and we're in the season already. And then Longstaff. I mean, I like Longstaff. He kept us in a lot of games last season. I'm not going to write him off just yet. Time may come, I suppose. It comes for everyone, but I think it's very hard to come in that situation and have an immediate impact. He's had limited game time as it is, so I don't think you can be too hard on Longy. Who else would you bring on anyway? I mean,
no. I'm not knocking Sean Longstaff at all, but you can tell he's doesn't have the quality that Tonali has, and like you said, he's rusty. He's barely played since the end of last season, and you can tell. And I don't know, like maybe once a few of these cup games kick off and the Champions League games where you get a bit more of a run and you get his legs under him a bit and you sort of get himself back up to the levels that we not expect of him, but that we seen last year. And then I think Joe Willock's going to be the same. He's going to take a while to get going as well once he comes back. So kind of need Longstaff to be at his levels at last year by the time Willock comes back. So we're not trying to throw two blokes in who are still not underdone, but still going to be a bit rusty and not have their match sharpness and stuff like that. But that kind of leads me to a point. I'll bring it up now because we were talking about consistency and things like that. It's our draw. So we all said, and it was in all the stat boffins that brought it up, that we had statistically the hardest draw of any Premier League team to start the season. And I know people... Well, the argument is, well, who cares? You've got to play everyone twice anyway, and you play them at home and you play them away and all that sort of stuff. But I do think that we've been harshly done by in this situation because I'm sure if we had a couple of easier games and we get a couple of wins under our belt, our confidence grows, and you can go into a game against a big side like Liverpool or Man City with a bit of confidence under your belt, and you feel a bit better about yourself and everything like that. And then to have basically the first 4 games against rivals who we all think are going to be fighting for the same positions come the end of the year is tough, and it shouldn't be discounted or thrown away as it doesn't matter. Everyone's got to play them, yeah, but not everyone's playing them at the start of the year, back to back to back to back. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean, but I've said before, I always think it's best to play these teams early before they get up to speed themselves. You know, it's all very well said that you want to get yourself up to speed, but that just, you know, the other teams can get up to speed at the same time, and then has anything really changed in reality? It's usually a good idea to get them early when they haven't settled. Hopefully you have, and you can kind of spring a nice result. Didn't happen with City, although it wasn't a terrible game by any stretch. The game today, though, it was nothing to do with Liverpool. It was us. We did it to ourselves. We didn't react when they made their changes. We kept playing that high line. The intensity was gone. I think we just have to focus on the things that we got wrong. And Eddie Howe has to take a huge amount of blame, I think. And there's nothing wrong with saying that. There's nothing wrong with saying Bruno balls it up for their second goal, because he did.
He did, yeah. Like give away a sloppy pass in a really dangerous position, and
he wasn't
get punished by good players.
He wasn't particularly under heavy pressure, isn't he? He just kind of, I think, if I remember,
just really loose with the ball.
Yeah, exactly.
He kind of half. I think he was half trying to get out to Barnes on the far side, and took a sort of poor touch, and then just lollipopped it and gave it away, and then like bang, they've scored. Like, and that's how quick. And the 2 goals were nearly identical. Like the way where they come from, and the second one didn't, like you said, didn't come off Botman's ass. So that was probably the only, and he wasn't on the pitch. So there's another thing that we probably could address, but we've got way too much still to get through. So we probably won't get to talk about his injury. But the good news was, I think I did read something that he didn't have the moon boot or anything on when he left the stadium, which is a good sign, I guess. Like, even with minor ankle injuries and foot injuries these days, they tend to keep him in the moon boot to keep the weight off it and stuff like that. So the fact that he wasn't in there is probably a good sign. You were talking about Eddie taking blame and for this and that. Do you think there was one thing that went wrong, or was it just a shitstorm of 5 or 6 different things that just culminated into what happened?
Well, these things can tend to cascade, can't they? But I think we've touched on the subs. I think that was the wrong sub to make, specifically with Gordon. I can either roll with Tonali, either roll with not with Isaac. So I think Isaac and Tonali I could get on board with. Gordon, I think, was a mistake by quite a stretch. That was the first thing. But the second thing, as I've just mentioned there, is Eddie didn't, when that first goal went in, right? Teams score goals, fine. We're playing a high defensive line. They've got people sitting on our defenders waiting for the ball. They're a very, very good team. Darwin is a bit of a donkey, but like evidently he can still score a goal, and he's got pace behind him as well. He beats Pope from a fair bit out as well, right across his goal, and Pope doesn't save it. You can look at that and go, right, they've changed their formation. They've now got their equalizer. There's 7-10 minutes, whatever it is, to go. It's very close to the end of the game. I think the second mistake that Eddie Howe made was that he didn't change our formation. We kept playing that high line. I think we were playing bloody wing backs. I mean, I didn't see it was basically 3 at the back at pretty much all times. I don't remember seeing 4 back at any point during this whole phase. At one point, I saw bloody Trippier in the middle, and Shaw was hugging the right hand.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
I was like, what the hell's going on here? So I think, as well as the subs, I think Eddie Howe should have reacted to that goal going in and thought, you know what, 1-0's never a safe goal line, 2-0's never a safe goal line. It gives the other team the impetus to go ahead and get the winner or the equaliser for 2-2, whatever it might be. And I think he just left things the way they were, and he didn't just move that line back, get a little bit closer to Nick Pope. I'm not saying go bloody low block ourselves. I'm just saying, pull it back a bit, stick 4 there instead of having the 3 or 5, whatever you want to do, and try and manage the game and see it out and get something out of this game. Because even at 1-1, it would have felt like a loss, but it wouldn't have been a bloody loss. It would have been a point. And so I think those are the 2 things I think you got wrong.
Yeah. So I think he went into, I'm still trying to win the game. And in the end, instead of actually dropping 2 points, because that's how it would have been taken, is we've dropped 2 points being in the front at home to a 10-man Liverpool. We've ended up dropping all of them. So do you think he should have stopped trying to win the game? Because I think that's what happened. That's what happened last year at Anfield. Now everyone will blame with time wasted, and that's why we didn't want to win and we're happy with a draw. If you actually remember, John Linton had the ball on the corner flag and could have just sandbagged. He actually crossed the ball in, and we turned the ball over, and that's what kind of led to their winner. So did we do the same thing? Did we actually lose the game trying to win it?
I think we did. I mean, I think coaches deserve praise when they try and win a game. It sounds obvious, but you don't want to see a manager stick his team out there with no intention of winning the game. And I think it's admirable, but it has to be logical, depending on the phases of the game, depending on what the score is.
Yeah.
Yes, and taking everything into account. And I think, I mean, to be honest, it felt like we'd kind of given up trying to win anyway. You've already mentioned it yourself. It just looked like we'd stopped trying to win so much and drop the pressure off, and it was more of a kind of a exercise in keeping the ball, or at least trying to keep the ball. Maybe thinking we're better than we are and trying to move Liverpool players out of position from that low block so that we could then bang them on the wings and get in behind them. But Liverpool was just too wise to that. It just didn't materialize at all, really. Except perhaps that time when Harvey Barnes could have got Wilson in. So I think I can understand the mindset and that kind of take our game and our style of play to the opposition, which is something Eddie Howe's talked about before. But you also, surely you have to have the managerial nous to think 5-10 minutes to go, whatever it is. Liverpool are right on it here. We've looked a bit off this for large parts of the second half here. I'm just going to kind of tweak this a little bit. I'm going to dial it back a little bit. I'm going to pull the wing backs to normal fullback position. I'm going to put maybe a little bit more in the midfield, whatever it might be that you need to do, and just make sure that you nullify their forward threats that they've got.
Yeah.
Do it.
And like they might feel different about it, and I'm sure you probably feel the same as me. I know we had the joint equal best defense last season, but a lot of that happened in the first 2/3 of the season, especially towards the back end of the season. It felt like we conceded every game, and we just, I don't know if we lost their confidence or they tweaked things up to maybe be a bit more attacking and sort of hope that the defensive stuff looks after itself. But we just don't seem comfortable at the back that we can keep a clean sheet at the moment, do we?
We can't keep a clean sheet to save our lives right now. I mean, and that's another thing with Nick Pope. I mean, he gets beaten by Darwin from his left, Darwin's right, across the goal, and then a few minutes later gets done by the exact same player in the exact same position with the exact same bloody shot, and he concedes again. Nick Pope surely should look at that and go, I'll just maybe stand a foot to the right of where he just kicked it a few minutes ago and scored.
Challenge him. Yeah.
I can still cover the left here fairly well. It's Darwin Núñez, so you 50-50 whether you're going to get a donkey shot or a moment of magic. He's got his goal. I'll just caution to win, and he just stands in the exact same bloody position and gets screwed over by the same goddamn shot. And I think the defense doesn't have any pace. It's a stroke of terrible luck for Botman. I mean, you can't blame him for getting the ball. It was a shit cross, if anything. It bounced off his arse.
Yeah.
It's either side of it, and probably he deals with it, but it bounced off his arse.
Luckily,
he's turning. He doesn't know where it is.
Dropped off his calf or something as well. I think on the
and
way
it doesn't
down,
go behind him; it goes to the side of him. And
straight in his path. Here you go, mate.
Darwin's got a proper view of it. He knows where it is. He gets in, and I mean, Fabian Shaw is great. Trippier went missing a lot in the second half, I think. And when Target came on, I think he touched it once, and I don't know where the hell he went after that. We were just consciously going forward. So the defense. I think the defense still needs a bit of work. I don't know if this right-sided footed centre back will make any difference with that regard, but we need pace. If we can get some pace in there, I'm not saying it has to be Yedlin who couldn't do anything else but run, but we need a good defender with legs who can run and be
pass
fast.
the ball. Just the final one on the game, and this will probably bounce around, and you probably might change your opinion on this as the week goes on. Was it a bad performance or a bad result?
Well, it's both, wasn't it?
So I think for probably 70 minutes, it was a good performance.
Yeah, not really. I mean, you think about it towards the end of the first half, Liverpool were coming right back into it again, and we were starting to look really nervous. The crowd was nervous as hell, by the way, as well. The St. James's Park crowd was very quiet for most of this game. It
was, yeah.
From the moment that red card, it felt maybe a little bit just after that, but up until half time and second half, aside from the shots, nothing really was coming from the crowd.
You could feel that through the TV. Like, everyone was edgy.
And I'm sure half time.
If they say that they're the 12th man and they push everyone along, and Gordon said that as well, that you get a different energy at home and it makes you push on. I think it works the other way as well. If they're quiet and they're edgy, it creeps into the players on the pitch as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if the 12th man is given the energy and the energy's not there, then the players don't have the energy. The players are going to suffer as a result, and the team's going to suffer. But I think the performance, I'm not saying it was terrible the whole time. I'm saying, on the whole, it wasn't a great performance in the end. We lost our way almost entirely the second half. You can't just ignore that. Yes, we had a few shots, and Miggy probably could have done better a few times, and Barnes with that cross and everything like that. But those are all if, buts, and maybes. None that actually happened. We got nothing out of that. And I think, obviously the result's bad, isn't it? Obviously.
Yeah. We'll bring up the stats here. Oh. Hang on a second. So there we are. Shots on target, 8-4. We had 11 shots to 3 as well. 57% possession to 43. I still think that sort of feels like it could have been a little bit higher as well, given they had 10 men and we did sort of fart ass around a bit with the ball and stuff like that. 9 corners to them was really surprising as well. Like, you really rarely see a team with 10 men have 4 more corners than the other team playing away.
I think they had about 5 in a row at one point, didn't they?
Yeah, just bang, bang.
Some of that was down to Nick Pope not just catching the ball as it came in. That was my other bugbear, by the way. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, he sort of lost control, didn't it?
Anyone who loves watching us knows that I bloody hate keepers who don't catch the ball. And he, at one point, it comes in from the corner, he just punches it away, and it comes back around. They have like another 2 or 3 corners afterwards. Like, just catch the damn thing. All this goes away if you catch it. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, take the heat off. But yeah, nothing really to write home about. So I thought we'll finish off, Lee, to take everyone away and hopefully put a smile on people's faces and make them think some good things after we've been in this hole. Give us something positive that we can go away with.
Well, Joe Linton didn't get sent off. So there's the first one for you right there.
He was just before after. He's got this thing, hasn't he? Just before half time, he just gets real. How many games just before half time? It gets really, really niggly, and everyone's like, "Mate, God, you can't get him off. We just need to get to half time so he can have a drink of water, maybe a Snickers, and just calm himself down again." You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what it is.
He should have. Did he even get a single yellow?
I don't think he did. No,
I don't think he did he? Which is ridiculous because he should have had at least 4 in yellow. Yeah. If I was a Liverpool fan, I'd be thinking, what on earth is going on here? How come Joe Linton hasn't got at least a yellow? He was being I mean, there's been tenacious, and then there's just been outright bad tackles, and he was doing a combination of the both. So the positive is that he didn't either get yellow and certainly didn't get sent off. That's positive. Botman not being badly injured, if that's as it stays, is desperately good news. If Byrne has to come in and replace Botman, which is or Lascelles, I suppose, could do that as well, then we're going to have a long season. It depends how long it takes, but and it depends if we don't get anyone in before the end of the transfer window as well. But I don't think Byrne at centre back, even though that was kind of my thinking, just on the basis of this, I don't think that's probably going to work all that well because he's got even less pace than bloody Botman. So
and that were quick. Like they've got a really quick front three as well. Like
they do, and
there's not that many teams that have got him that quick.
No, and Timmy's made the point before, and he's quite right. Most defenders will be slower than most attackers. That's just kind of the nature of their jobs. But the slow and then there's really slow, and I think I was a little bit too on the latter, too really slow. And the only other thing I can think of that is a positive is that, it's actually from Dimmy. He says last year we had 8 points from 7 games. We've got 3 from 3 right now. So it's not like it's absolute shithouse. We've still got another bunch of games to get a few more points. When we did the preseason predictions, I kind of had it down as about 10 points out of the first 5 games. I expected to get a draw from Liverpool. That's gone now, obviously, but we can still get 9 points, and that would still not be that bad given how hard that start's been. No. And I suppose the final positive is that we've been in both of these games for pretty huge stretches. Against City, we were doing all right. They only won by 1. I mean, I guess Haaland could have got about 6 or something if he had his shooting boots on. But aside from that, we actually kind of made a pretty good representation of ourselves away from home. Then today we did have periods of time where we were just dominating the first half of the first half, really, until the red card and the changes all kind of changed the complexion. But even in the second half, we did try a little bit. So it's not like we've been completely blown out of the water and lost these games because we've got nothing about ourselves. There is still the nucleus of a very good team there with a bit more luck, a bit more composure, and a bit more familiarity particularly in the midfield area. I think we could end up having still a really, really good season, So it's not full panic.
It's not
the end of the bloody world. It's just
and it's
just bloody annoying. It's frigging annoying. You're allowed to be annoyed. And
of course upset,
you are.
So I'll start off with last year, Manchester United finished third above us. Liverpool beat them 7-0 last season. Man City beat them 6-3, and Aston Villa beat them 3-1. So there's plenty of time that we can lose these games and still be in the hunt for top 4 and everything like that, which kind of echoes your point as well. Another big one, and we've mentioned him a lot on this podcast, was Anthony Gordon. His performance was amazing and really showed that, he's a great player now. And I think it's really easy to forget his age. He's 21.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a massive future, and I think in the fullness of time, that 40 million is probably going to end up being a bit of a bargain for him. I think he's getting coached really well, and like you said, he's come back from the Euros, player of the tournament. His confidence is absolutely sky high at the moment, and I think he did have a point to prove against probably his most hated team as well. So, I'm just going to leave with a really positive affirmation about Anthony Gordon, and he's going to be a really good player for us as well. So
Gordon's brilliant. The last one I'll say is that nobody but Klopp chews with his mouth sideways. It's I don't know. He's like a cow chewing grass. It's like nobody else does that. So
like a camel, when a camel you put a bit of straw in a camel's mouth and it sort of
his teeth goes like this. What on earth's going on here? No, but fair play to him. He did a brilliant job.
Yeah, that's you don't manage the clubs and the levels that he's managed at if you're not any good at what you do.
He's world class.
Yeah, I can think of another manager who's managed over 1,000 games who's gone and done nothing anywhere near.
Does he look like a garden vegetable?
Yes, he does look like a bit of a common garden vegetable. So
yes,
so you just sometimes you can be as angry as you like and sometimes you just lose. And that's sometimes you're the fly, Lee, sometimes you're the windscreen. And last night we were the fly. Yep. On against Aston Villa, we were the windscreen. So it comes around, goes around. That'll wrap it up, mate. Thank you everyone for watching and listening. Hopefully we've helped you progress through your Liverpool recovery. It's been a great recovery session with you, Lee. Hopefully we don't have to do too many of these during the year. And
I don't feel much better.
We're in a happy place and things are really good. But stay tuned. We'll have our Brighton preview up later on the week as well, which would be really good, which is a massive game. I know we don't want to be hyperbolic after 4 games, but in the context of the season, I really think we need to get something out of the game. Brighton are obviously a really good team as well. So we always seem to struggle down at the Amex Stadium. I think we've been pretty good recently, though, with draws. I don't think we've won. But traditionally, we should have lost. But traditionally, we've struggled to play well there anyway. So that's a massive game. So stay tuned for that. Lee, thank you for your time today or tonight. It's been good sharing my therapy session with you as well. And I still have a bit of a heavy chest, but it wasn't as heavy as it was 50 minutes ago, mate. So
what's all about.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks everyone for listening. Like I said, if you haven't liked the video and comment and subscribe to our channel, which is great, and hopefully we can get to 1,500 really, really quickly. Thanks everyone, and we'll see you all next time.
Cheers, guys.